This is 5 on 20 News with Joel Foster and
Tammy King, and we're coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It is February 27th. First in local headlines.
The Satanic Temple of Arizona is suing the city of Scottsdale for denying the group a request to deliver a religious invocation at a city council meeting in 2016. A lawsuit was filed Friday by the Satanic Temple and states that the city violated the group's civil liberties and constitutional rights. Attorney Stuart DeHaan, who is representing the Satanic Temple, said that, quote, "We're not asking anyone to follow our tenets, but that does not mean we don't have the same constitutional rights as everyone else." The temple has given similar invocations in Grand Junction, Colorado, and in Florida, but has not been able to in Arizona. The group tried to deliver an invocation at a Phoenix City Council meeting, but were also denied after the council decided to get rid of the prayer and replace it with a moment of silence. Later, Phoenix reinstated the prayer, but now only allows members of the police force to deliver the invocation. The city of Scottsdale responded with a statement that claimed the temple was not turned away due to their beliefs, but rather because they lack a, quote, "substantial connection to the Scottsdale community." However, on the re-election website of Scottsdale Mayor Jim Lane, he wrote that, quote, "In Scottsdale, we've decided to keep our traditional invocations, and we've decided to send this Satanist sideshow elsewhere." Also, in an election pamphlet, Lane bragged that he, quote, "stopped so-called Satanists from mocking City Hall traditions with a prayer." If the court rules against Lane, he will be forced to don black and white makeup and begin listening to lots of Cradle of Filth, according to the U.S. Constitution. You look like a Cradle of Filth fan. You know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. That's your thing?
I don't know if that's the motion or
Sure it is.
Probably sure it is,
You
yeah.
got it. You're natural.
Yeah, I am, yeah. Former University of Arizona football coach Rich Rodriguez is claiming that sexual harassment allegations by a former administrative assistant is a sensationalized tale created to extort him. Rodriguez was fired earlier this year when the accusation came to light. The former assistant, Melissa Wilhelmsen, filed a lawsuit in January claiming that Rodriguez forced her to cover up an affair that he was having. She also said that there were several incidents of inappropriate touching by Rodriguez and times when he tried to kiss her and made inappropriate comments. Rodriguez has admitted to the affair but denies that sexual harassment took place. Wilhelmsen's $8.5 million suit accuses Rodriguez and his wife of slander, defamation, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Attorneys representing Rodriguez filed a response to the Arizona Attorney General's office on Monday, claiming that an unnamed accuser and her husband tried to use her knowledge of his affair to extort money from him. Coach Rodriguez's story will be adapted into a telenovela called Las Pasiones Calientes del Entrenador Rodriguez.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Yes,
that's
that's my Tucson coming out of me.
The hot passions.
Yes.
All right. Arizona Senator Jeff Flake introduced a bill today, along with Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein, that would raise age limits for those purchasing long guns. Both pro-gun advocates and gun control groups have come out against the bipartisan measure, either for being too tough to responsible gun owners and being too little to stem gun violence in the U.S. Flake tweeted about the bill on Friday, only mentioning the age restrictions related to the AR-15, the style of gun used in the Florida school shootings 2 weeks ago. However, Feinstein's office said in a statement that her bill would require those wishing to purchase a gun to be at least 21 years old. Flake didn't reveal details of the bill, but said that he was working on language alongside Feinstein. Charles Heller, co-founder of the Arizona Citizens Defense League, said that the proposal proves that Flake, quote, hates freedom, like others who endorse gun control. On the other side, Geraldine Hills of Arizonans for Gun Safety asked, what difference will it make? She pointed out that the Las Vegas shooter was over 21 years old, as were most of the biggest mass shooters of the past few years. She instead urged an expansion of background checks and said that, quote, without universal background checks, there's loopholes everywhere. The president last week wrote in a tweet that he supports both raising the age of gun purchases and more expansive background checks. He also wrote in a tweet that, quote, the ice caps are going to melt. They were going to be gone by now, but now they're setting records. So, okay, they're at a record level. So take it all with a big dump truck full of salt, is what I'm trying to say.
Look, a loophole.
Loophole?
A loophole.
Where?
Over there. Huh. They're everywhere.
They are.
FBI wiretaps recorded University of Arizona basketball coach Sean Miller discussing illegal payments to ensure a commitment from freshman DeAndre Ayton, according to the ESPN report. The wiretaps reportedly captured phone conversations between Miller and Christian Dawkins, who works for sports agent Andy Miller. The report states that the conversation included Dawkins asking Miller if he should facilitate a finalized agreement through a former assistant coach, Richardson. Emmanuel Book Richardson.
Right.
Miller told Dawkins that he should deal directly with when it came to money, according to the report. Both Richardson and Dawkins were arrested along with 8 other individuals by the FBI in September. Richardson, who was in charge of the team's recruiting, was later suspended and relieved of his duties after being charged with fraud and corruption. As a result of the report, Shaquille O'Neal's son, Sheriff O'Neal, decided to not attend the U of A, even though he made a commitment to the team. He said that in light of the recent revelations, it was in the best interest to find another school. O'Neal said he would seek a more peaceful, civilized campus, such as maybe University of Florida.
Yes. So when I think of peace, I think of University of Florida.
I always
Everyone's
think of Florida.
Just relaxed and nobody's drinking, nothing like that.
Right.
It's all good. All right, a lawsuit launched against the University of Arizona alleges gang rape and a hostile environment in the university's football program. Oof, bad week for U of A athletics.
Yeah.
An amended complaint filed February 13th claims that there was an established culture of sexual harassment and sexual violence within the U of A football program. It says the university received reports of sexual harassment and did, quote, little, if anything, to stop it or take prompt action to redress the harassment. The plaintiff in the case is an individual who dated U of A football player Orlando Bradford and originally filed the lawsuit against the Arizona Board of Regents, or ABOR, on January 30th. The lawsuit originally alleged that ABOR failed to open a Title IX investigation into Bradford. It states that the university failed to discipline Bradford and helped him secure off-campus housing with other members of the football team while he continued playing in games and participating in practice sessions. Bradford was dismissed from the team in September of 2016 after pleading guilty to 2 counts of aggravated assault domestic violence. Records from the Tucson Police Department show that Bradford's roommates and teammates were aware of the violent incidents but did not report them. In 2017, Bradford was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Well, he will learn the important lesson that you get what you give. Should be a
Ouch.
fun 5 years.
Yeah. Oh. The state of Arizona found themselves with millions more in tax revenue than they had expected when they drafted the current budget last spring. The latest monthly report by the legislature's budget staff showed that revenue was nearly $250 million more than expected, mostly due to individuals' income taxes. Overall, collections totaled near $1.1 billion, according to the report, about 16% above the previous fiscal year. The budget staff said that the additional revenue could be due to a few factors. This included capital gains from the stock market's growth in 2017 and increased profits from so-called pass-through businesses who profited from the Republican tax reform bill passed in late 2017. Governor Doug Ducey said that he'd likely spend the excess revenue on, quote, hats, really cool hats.
A shopping spree.
Yeah, you should get some shoes.
Yeah, you gotta get shoes to match it, sure.
Yes.
Ducey's gonna look nice. All right, a manufacturing company that promised the Trump administration they wouldn't shift jobs out of the country received a $2.5 billion contract with the Department of Defense. The aeronautics company United Technologies promised the president in 2016 that they would keep hundreds of jobs in the U.S. and invest $16 million into a facility in Indianapolis. Recently, the company received a contract from the DoD to provide the agency with equipment including propeller systems, flight sensors, and landing gear. Okay. The contract was reportedly awarded without competition, according to the Washington Post. The report says that the Defense Department believes that United Technology is the only qualified company to deliver the parts, and that the contractor is a renewal of a contract that was set to expire in April. A spokesperson for United Technology said the deal had nothing to do with the deal to keep workers in the U.S. While the company promised to keep the jobs in the country, they ended up laying off 300 workers in their Indianapolis facility last July and laid off over 200 additional workers last November. They also announced that they were using the bulk of the $16 million investment to go towards automation. The rest of the investment will be thrown into an incinerator to heat the remaining 25 workers left at the Indianapolis plant.
Wow.
Promises mean nothing.
They mean nothing. 4 states agreed on Friday to share some gun registries that they say will allow them to prevent dangerous individuals from obtaining guns. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Rhode Island will now share information such as the names of individuals with warrants out for their arrest and those with mental health issues who have been barred from buying guns. While states are already supposed to report criminal information to the National Instant Criminal Background System, they say the agreement will expand the amount of information being shared. The agreement said that the states would also share details on how weapons are trafficked and sold within state lines and select universities to collaborate on gun research. The agreement would not, however, allow states to share guns which lost the support of every state south of Connecticut.
So that would be a good deal. You just switch guns. Hey, we got these. You want some of these?
No sharing.
Yeah, Georgia would love that.
Yeah.
All right. Russia hacked hundreds of computers at the Winter Olympic Games in South Korea and attempted to pin the blame on North Korea, according to a Washington Post report. According to the report, the Russian agents planted false evidence to make it look like North Korea was responsible. This came after the North has seen tensions lower with the South, as Kim Jong-il's sister attended the ceremony and North Korea athletes were able to compete. U.S. intelligence officials told the Post that the hacking operation caused broadcast and internet disruptions, while some attendees were unable to print tickets. These officials believe Russia's motive to be the Olympic Committee's decision to ban Russian officials from attending after a group of Russian athletes were found to have been doping. This included members of the Russian curling team who ended their last match by angrily smashing their brooms and driving the sharpened tips into each other's chests. You remember that, right?
I do. I saw that one.
Thrilling.
Yeah. That was the high point of the curling event.
That's what the Olympics are all about.
Yes. A bipartisan group of governors proposed a reform of the nation's healthcare system on Friday. The plan was drafted by Republican governors John Kasich of Ohio and Brian Sandoval of Nevada, along with Democrat governors Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania and John Hickenlooper of Colorado and independent governor Bill Walker of Alaska. The plan looks to shift the healthcare system from one that pays providers for their quantity of services to one that rewards providers for quality. Kasich said the government needs to take action on healthcare costs, which are estimated to rise $5.5 trillion by 2025. The 7-page proposal urges Congress and the administration to work with states and to make a commitment to value-based healthcare. It also urges them to ensure Americans have access to care while creating incentives that encourage patients to live healthy lifestyles, which help lower health care costs. The plan also recommends reducing restrictions on states to innovate their health care systems. The group of governors have also asked that the Trump administration reinstate Affordable Care Act insurer payments that the president canceled last year. These payments reimburse insurance companies for insuring low-income individuals. Kasich says that as long as no one mentions the term Obamacare, then Trump will probably go along with it.
I don't think he knows that they're the same thing. Affordable
Probably
Care Act,
not.
Obamacare.
Yeah,
I don't think he's connected that yet. So it's a good plan, Kasich. Go for it. All right. House Democrats introduced a bill that would ban assault weapons, such as the AR-15, which was used in the Florida school shootings 2 weeks ago. This is another bill, as not the Jeff Flake one. We've got 2 going out now. Representatives David Cicilline of Rhode Island and Ted Deutsch of Florida introduced the assault weapons ban of 2018, which would make it, quote, unlawful for a person to import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon. However, the ban wouldn't apply to semi-automatic weapons that were lawfully possessed before the measure went into effect. So if you got one now, you're good. The bill would also require the Attorney General to create a public record of semi-automatic assault weapons that have been used in crimes. Decent idea. The NRA opposes the measure, not surprisingly, and will spend the next week coming up with puns on the name Ted Dooch. Should be pretty easy.
That's pretty easy. Yeah, I can think of some.
For sure.
Some puns. I can't say it, but I could think of some.
Douchebag.
Yeah.
You know, to start.
Yeah.
Go from there, NRA.
U.S. Appeals Court ruled that Title VII protections cover discrimination based on sexual orientation. The Manhattan court was only the second to make such a ruling, this time stating that a worker's sex is a factor in discrimination based on sexual orientation. The ruling went against a brief filed by the Trump administration in 2017 that said Title VII of the Civil Rights Act was not intended to protect gay workers. The issue was brought up by the lawsuit filed by the estate of Donald Zarda, a former skydiving instructor who was fired soon after telling a customer that he was gay. According to the lawsuit, Zarda was fired after the customer complained. His case was supported by large corporations such as Google, Microsoft, CBS, and Viacom. Zarda died in the base jumping accident after the lawsuit was filed. Zarda's former employee, Altitude Express, said that Congress did not consider sexual orientation when they adopted this Title VII rule 50 years ago. But the LGBTQ community argues the sexual orientation is a function of a person's gender. Therefore, they should have the same protections. Saul Zabel, a lawyer for Altitude Express, said that he agreed with the court's ruling that Zarda did not face discrimination when he worked for the company. Zabel also said that it's possible to have your cake and eat it too.
Yum. All right, this was 5 on 20 News with Joel Foster and
Tammy King. Be sure to like and share and subscribe to our YouTube account, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for all your latest Creative Tucson news and content. You can also feel free to get in touch with us at info@creativetucson.org.
not InfoWars. All right, thanks for watching. Stay creative, Tucson. Boom.